Hi guys, welcome back to Yoli Spaces. My name is Yoli Spaces. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and also comment in the box down below. And also give this video a huge thumbs up. Also turn on the notification bell so that you can get notified every time I upload a video. And today I bring you another guest, and he is
Lwando.
Dang it, who's that?
I don't you do the intro, so.
Kaloku uyazichaza wena uba ungubani. So abantu bazakwazi ngumntu ozochaza right.
Oh, Lwando Nteyi. Esiduko ngisa Lwando Thole. Qaqana mfengu. So ke sithi originally was a PE. Yeah, I'm the PE guy. But yeah, based in Cape Town.
Okay. Bafana base-PE siyabazi babadume ngantoni. But asikhola. I'm going to ask you a question now. How important do you think the open days are at universities and colleges?
Open days actually they're very vital, even though unfortunately abantu who really need open days the most do not get the opportunity to attend the open days, because open days basically it's the opportunity for those, especially high school students. Basically it's a day where you're allowed to go to the university that you wish you can go to, but you can also go to any other university just to get basically a glimpse of what university life and what lies ahead. Also, another importance of open days basically for students per se is the fact that, well, if, for example, in your mind you might say, I want to become a medical doctor, or I want to become a lawyer or an accountant. I'm just making an example. There are thousands of careers out there.
Yeah.
But then you don't have a full idea basically of what is needed, and also what the course entails, because for some high schools, fortunately, they do have what you call job shadowing, where I think in grade 11, you get to go to whatever industry that you'd like to go to. We're basically what your job kind of entails. Now, open days take what you've already learned there, but like nigga, in order to get to that job, this is what you need to do, or kind of what skills you need to have. So open days for me, as to this day, they're very, very important. But I also think universities also need to take the initiative, not just have open days physically at their schools, but also do tours around the country to introduce themselves, especially to kids where, for example, some of the kids you'd find out about, they've never actually even been outside. Let's say I've never even been outside of Ukatyan or Eastern Cape, let alone now having to come all the way to Cape Town or to Johannesburg or PE just for one day to Yale University. Whereas if the universities could take the initiative, not just also universities, colleges too, take the initiative, go out there, because there's also this big myth between universities and colleges, or what we know as FETs right now.
Most high schools believe that abandoned learners that should be going to open days are from grade 11 and 12. Shouldn't it be maybe from grade 9? Okay, from grade 8 also. So that ukuthi bana xa sekwazi ukhetha i-subject sifuna kwa grade 10 most, right? Athi xa sekwazi ukhetha the subject kwa grade 10 abe seyazi, you know. But why do you think that they prefer abantwana grade 11 and 12 to only go to those to open days?
I think for me the only reason is because, first of all, how universities on the other side, they also need revenue. So their biggest clients will basically be your grade 11, grade 12, because they are nearly there. But my belief actually is that open days shouldn't even start at grade 8. I'm a big supporter for me of a good solid foundation phase, where if you think about it, for example, I work in a university space, you'd find that there's a student and the student is very brilliant, and then you ask them, oh, okay, what made you to come to this particular university? I'm just not going to promote any universities right now, but I'm just saying, what made you to come to this particular university? You'd hear some of them like, no, I used to come here as a toddler. I used to come here. So you, from the get-go, you kind of build that sense of belonging. Oh, this is basically where I aspire to be. This is where I aspire to be. so that people are not shocked by the term university by grade 11, grade 12, which is already too late because you choose your classes in grade 10. So meaning by grade 9 already you're supposed to know kind of basically what you need. So for me, this thing of just only doing it for grade 11 and grade 12s, I think contributes a lot to the number of students who realize on their final year that actually what I'm studying is not what I like. It's just that at the time I was, at the time I just had to choose subjects, which again, if I take it back, for example, to me, my original career that I wanted to do, basically growing up from a get-go, was to fly planes, be a pilot, and which is why to this day, even though I've never had the chance to do that, but again, it's never too late.
Yeah,
there's still
definitely.
time. Which is why today I'm so obsessed with planes. Like, for example, if I see a plane flying over, I'm more likely to look up and actually name what kind of a plane it is. To some people, they're like, duh. I'm like, but some people like cars.
Plane.
Yeah. So when I saw that was not going to materialize because it was very expensive, first of all, to find flight schools, and it's still expensive now. So I decided, okay, well, I need to do something with my life. Then I wanted to go to the university. But by the time I realized that, I think I was in grade 11 or 12, then I said to myself, okay, at home though, it was a very unpopular choice that I wanted to take a gap year. And everyone was like, you need to go to school, you need to study, blah, 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 and all these things. You can't just sit at home. But I was like, for me, I don't want to waste time of my life when I asked about basically what is it that I want to study, because my mind was too focused on planes, never really looked around basically what is it that I wanted in university. So interestingly enough, the gap year, yes, I was also doing working in restaurants, but then it also gave me time to explore basically what is it that I love, because what I wanted to study was not basically what my career will follow, but I was studying something out of curiosity. I wanted to learn more about it. So I realized usually now there's so many more digital services we can watch.
Yes.
At the time we used to hire DVDs. DVDs used to come with like the extra stuff, like the behind the scenes of how they made movies, and then you'd have some movies where the director is talking throughout the movie about how we made these things. For me, I started to realize from there, actually, I enjoy more about the behind the scenes than the story itself. So I knew one thing that I wanted to study around was film. This is just me discovering myself. Then in grade 10, I quit accounting. I was passing it, not that I was failing it, it's just that I hated it because of this thing called, what's the thing? General ledger. Yeah, 2 accountants and everyone who did accounting. Yes. It's so basic, but I hated it because it never balanced for some reason. So then I said, I'm not going to do this. Then I skipped to geography.
You did not even bother to find out why the balance?
No.
Okay.
Because it was never like huge amounts, like a 200 rand or 500. It was like 2 rand or 3 rand. So I'm like, that means I need to recalculate the whole thing. I was like, no, not about that life. Then I discovered actually grade 11 in matric, I did geography. Literally, it was actually my highest subject, even though I studied at grade 11 and 12. I actually really enjoyed geography because I see myself as a very inquisitive person. I like to learn things, especially those things like, your 30 seconds, those useless, I call them the useless facts, basically. Like things that you'd never literally do, use on your everyday life, but it's like a knowledge that you can, it's nice to have, just especially for conversation starters. So then from there on, I knew by the time I'm going to also the National Geographic thing, because at the time, we didn't have a DSTV here at home. We used to have SABC 3, so we only saw this on SABC 3. where basically I saw, hey, I love actually like the whole documentary style of basically filmmaking. Not necessarily like your fiction stories, but more of something realistic stories.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, whatever that I love geography so much, I love filming so much. Then I decided, okay, where am I gonna go with that? Right? I applied at UCT through the Faculty of Sciences, and then from there I was told I can only do environmental and geographic sciences. I cannot do film. Then they said, oh, there's also another faculty called the Faculty of Humanities. Faculty of Humanities, but I know you're actually allowed to do both. So like, okay, then can't I transfer to there?
Yeah.
So then that's how I ended up at Humanities. I did a Bachelor of Arts, basically studying film and environmental geographic sciences, majoring in climatology on one side, and then the other side in film and television. It was quite interesting. As I'm saying again, I went for me basically to varsity, not necessarily to study what I wanted to do career wise, but what I love and actually enjoy, which is why I actually don't have any regrets about the degrees that I did.
What you studied in varsity, did your parents have any influence in it? Like already says about you loved what you eventually studied 1 year. You already had a plan about before study Shandon from the get-go, right? Also, some of the decisions that you took, did you have any influence from anything?
From anything, no. Their influence, they wanted me to be either follow, because growing up, I was very interested in the sciences, but as time goes by, my interest started going down, down. So they wanted me basically to focus on the sciences side of things. But when I told them this is what I want, especially because as I'm saying, the gap year part was the hardest part, trying to explain, oh, this year I'm going to be staying at home, I'm not going to be going to varsity and everything. So basically the influence was kind of, once they knew that, for them, they were just happy that I applied at the university and I got in.
Yeah. Okay.
What I studied, actually, the only time actually they really knew what I studied was on my graduation day, basically.
Why?
Because I was passing, that's all they kind of like, oh, you passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned gap year numerous times. Abazali, especially black parents, black families, abayibhilivi le nto ye-gap year. But ungabenza njani wena for them to understand into yokuba why it's very important xa isithi umntana ukuba ndifuna uthatha i-gap year this year ndingafundi or whatever, bakwazi uyamkela that decision.
For me, first of all, it's just that abazali, especially abazali bethu abamnyama, there's also the pressure, which is backed by finances. But hey, sicela like ufunde, uphangela then uzosincedisa. Or for example, abanye will tell you athi umuntu no ndikufumene like sendimdala senza retirish imali endinayo ngoku is only to cover you for the next 3 years. So if uzathatha igap year ndikwazi uba ndiza coverage njani for Lwando iminyaka ezayo. So basically for me is to abazali, first of all, you say that umntana na 16, 17, they're still a child. They Lwando, basically you start growing, basically you start becoming an adult at 18. Yet you want a 16-year-old to make a decision about their entire future. So which is why I think for Mna gap year is Danyaga is very important, because Lumdana has been studying abanye mhlamba qale umntu from daycare zange waphumla throughout primary school, high school. Gap year is very important because the next step of their lives is very important, basically how it's going to shape. Not necessarily about that's how it will shape your future, but it doesn't mean also it's fixed that way. So it's good to let umntana wakho akhe aphumle, because imagine that you were in a marathon, you were in a race, when you get to the finishing line, so before you take the next race, it's actually good to take a break, take a water break, strategize. Hey man, I did this living high school. I wanted to become because I literally, this is, I'm sure, but there's so many people actually who do metric, even though on the idea about this is what you want, there's also those doubts. But is it really what I want?
Yeah, we can use this because Thailand are focused on that.
Yes.
You know, that.
So which is why I believe but they need lanyaka.
Yeah.
Can unyaka came 2 years. But just to recuperate hlale phansi and now mzali can tell about what is it man often by what do you enjoy? And bakho something which is actually outside of the question, but it's also coming to the question in the gap here. First of all, thina bazali omnyama babhizi busy. Abantu, they don't go and support their children.
Yeah.
Uyava nje umntana kumane kuthiwa ugood kwibhola or ugood kwirugby or ugood
But uyazi
kwichess. You don't know about it. And mhlawumbi umntana wakho uyafeli, not that uyafelisha, but they're not doing that well at school. But hey, umntana kumane keep winning awards in this thing. This is also the time after matric to sit down, but okay, yamani excella kwibhola more than excella kula. Is ibhola something that you enjoy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Then you find ways, how do you incorporate the education plus Lwando and ball? You can either but most universities, they have career offices which are open for not just university students, but also for people who would like to get more check about, oh okay, I love Ebola, and how about maybe I do a basic business or finance course? Because first of all, if it's Ebola, I know by the age of 35 I have to retire.
Yeah, definitely.
So how can I use Ebola
afterwards?
After 35. So these are kinds of plans that need to be there, but support. Yes, not all careers this demand literally from the get-go. Isn't it take time, even the obvious ones. We see quite a lot of students also who are qualified engineers and they can't get jobs. So basically this is when you sit down, and also if Mdanako is interested into entrepreneurship or business, how do you support them with business and also trying to incorporate education, because education is also very important. In whatever that you want to do. You don't need education to be successful, but it is recommended to have education in order to make sure that success is sustainable.
Okay.
So
what you studied in Varsity, what challenges did you come across?
The first big one for me was the language, basically, and also your background. So for example, let's start with film. So if you want, at my particular university, if you wanted to do the production side of filming, you needed to have a prior experience of how to work on a camera, how to do editing and all those things. Coming from my background, literally the first time I actually touched a camera was in one of the societies at Varsity that I joined, the film society. So obviously you're already excluded. I don't know, hopefully now it has changed the entry requirements for that particular course, because obviously many of us couldn't literally get on, and you could barely see someone your skin tone in that class because none of us had prior experience. We came actually to try and study these things. So those are some of the kinds of barriers that you're gonna get. Barriers and hardships. And then also that thing of in class is that, contrary to popular belief, people always think I'm very, I'm like kind of talkative, or I'm not shy at all. For me, my talkative basically is my way of kind of shield to protect yourself. I hate speaking in spaces where there's people. I just talk so that I can just kind of. So in class it was even worse because you'd have about 100 people and then you have a question because you didn't understand it. Now you're afraid to ask because first of all you're gonna think, people are gonna be like, why are you asking such a basic stupid question? And in fact, one of my lecturers actually, the way they said, we mustn't forget if English for like almost about 60 to 70% of the class is not your home language. Is that sometimes it's very difficult to understand things. For example, they said, imagine on an essay, a simple thing like discuss or describe. That's in a question. Describe or discuss. To us, none who are not home language speakers or who are not very good in English, that's quite similar. Like it's the same in real one, whereas it's actually quite different. It's asking a whole different thing. So it's those are some of the hardships, and also, the whole thing of now you're on your own. It was not necessarily a big issue for me because, fortunately enough, I was usually growing up on my own for school and boarding school. So I kind of got the whole training of being on your own, study at your own time, etc. So those were some of the challenges. And also the challenges basically of how to balance life. Yes, you need to be whole academic and everything at varsity, but there's also your personal life that also needs to be somewhere. So one of the biggest challenges is to balance those two. Because one of actually the best advices I ever got from my res warden was that study harder but party harder, so that way you can always have a clear mind. That even though you study hard, also use your free time to actually just free your mind.
So when I balance
it was also like, again, in terms of being very inquisitive. At Varsity, I was doing quite a lot of things though, like with joining societies or some programs in Varsity. The one thing though that I actually never joined, which I actually even didn't really care about, it was student leadership. Because on a different level or story, those things for me, they never genuine. Basically, people never go to those things with that, I want to serve. They always say I want to serve, but once they're there, people change. So I was more, for me, curious on doing things that were more constructive, not just to me but to other students as well, especially this whole thing of sharing. Like I always say, for me, when I talk to students, I always share my bad experiences to them, basically also for them to show them a lesson that, okay, hey, if you approach this, if you see these things, this is what you should look out for once, like when you meet certain challenges. And also, life is not all that rosy, because there's that perception, university, you guys are just there to drink and party, and it's not all that. There's also the stress, academic stress that's there. Also personal stresses that compound the academic stress.
A student they're studying whatever course that they're studying, and usuka like wherever. Now it's a varsity, but uyohluleka, and the only thing in is just for me to walk away from this whole thing. What advice would you give to that student?
Okay, for me, the best advice is even though there's around the world they say failure is not an option. It's okay to fail if you're failing, but it's also good to recognize what you're failing in and where you're failing, so that now you can go and get help. Literally, almost all universities, they do have resources that are there psychologically for you, or even like academic, even lecturers or your tutors are there. Those people are there actually for you. Okay, do you feel like I can't do this? Or you go to them and you speak to them. There's also curriculum advisors where okay, hey man, this course you've been struggling and you hate it now, but so if you want to change, how will that impact your academic life? Because first of all, another thing you need to consider is that some of you are at the universities, either your parents are paying or you're in a bursary, or you in under NSFAS. So those kinds of decisions is that if you're Shulega, never keep quiet about it. Always speak to someone. Even though we bursary and the bursaries they have their requirements, the moment you open up, they are there to help you. That's actually why they're paying for you. To make sure you can get tutorship, you can sometimes like pressure, like let's say go to our win. Sometimes the pressure suka from your home.
Yes.
To a win. Where you were good with math and science and biology now where you're studying and then you find that every time you get to a special or hospital you vomit because you just simply hate the Zimbabwe. It's good to literally to try but it's good to sit down, speak to someone, either your lecturer or your tutor, and then your curriculum advisor. So then you can talk to them about, okay, this is what I actually want not to do. You can ask them to also assist you to try and make Abazali understand about, okay, this is what you want, because as much as it's not good to think about Abazali Bakodot Day in the future, but that's the reality, that's the life. Is that they won't be there all the time. So when are you going to be left with what they wanted? When we talk each and every day, and by the time that you realize that you are like 50 years, you are so like grandchildren, and then sometimes that can also be toxic because and it just keeps perpetuating, and you don't want that.